Imagine waking up one morning and the air isn't invisible anymore. The moment you open your eyes, your room looks wrong. Not dark, not cloudy, but filled, completely filled, with billions and billions of floating, vibrating, shimmering particles. Every breath you take pulls swirling clusters of molecules into your lungs like tiny glowing dust storms. Every exhale releases a stream of moving, dancing shapes that twist around your face. And this isn't smoke, this isn't fog. This is the air itself. The nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, argon, water vapor, every single molecule that was once hidden is now perfectly visible. You try to stand up, but your vision feels overwhelmed. The world looks like a storm of microscopic marbles, each one bouncing at hundreds of meters per second. You can't see your own hand 10 centimeters in front of your face because the space between your eyes and your fingers is packed with molecules reflecting and scattering light in every direction. Cars outside are nearly impossible to drive. Headlights only brighten a chaotic haze. The sky looks like a dense ocean of constantly moving particles. Airplanes can't fly because pilots can't see anything beyond a swirling wall of atmospheric matter. And then something even stranger happens. You begin to notice pressure, not physically, visually. Areas with denser air look thicker, heavier, brighter. Hot air over boiling water flickers like rising fire. Cold air around your fridge hangs like a slow-moving fog. Breathing suddenly feels claustrophobic, not because oxygen is scarce, but because you can see every molecule entering your body. This is the world where air becomes visible, and it changes everything you know about perception, movement, and survival. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your question below. Air is something we never think about. It's everywhere, it's essential, yet completely invisible. Our entire lives depend on a natural miracle. The molecules around us are too small to scatter enough light for our eyes to detect. That invisibility is what allows us to see the world clearly, and it's a major reason life evolved the way it did. But what if that changed? In this scenario, we imagine a world where every air molecule becomes visible to the naked eye. Not enlarged, not glowing, just visible exactly as they are. They still move at incredible speeds, still collide billions of times per second, still follow the rules of gas physics. But now, for the first time in human history, we can see the invisible. Why does this matter? Because the moment air becomes visible, everything about how humans interpret the world collapses. Our eyes evolved to see objects, not the medium between them. If the atmosphere becomes something we visually detect, we lose the ability to see through it. The result isn't just a strange new look to the world, it's a total rewrite of how light, color, vision, and perception work. In this video, we'll explore the stunning consequences of a visible atmosphere.
How your vision and daily life would instantly change.
How nature and weather would look completely alien. How Earth's long term environment and biology would transform. And most importantly, could humanity adapt to a world where the air itself blocks our view? The first major consequence: vision collapse. The moment air molecules become visible, the very concept of seeing changes forever. Our eyes evolve to detect light bouncing off solid surfaces, trees, buildings, faces, not trillions of microscopic particles rushing around at hypersonic speeds. Suddenly, the air becomes the brightest, noisiest, most chaotic object in your field of view. Imagine stepping outside. Instead of clear open space, you're surrounded by a dense cloud of shimmering particles. Each air molecule scatters and reflects tiny bits of light. Individually, they're minuscule, but together they form a blinding, flickering layer of atmospheric static. It's like standing inside a 3D snowstorm where every snowflake is vibrating at 1,500 kilometers per hour. You try to look at a distant building, but it's barely visible behind a swirling fog of molecules. Even objects a few meters away appear faint, distorted, or completely lost behind the air's visual thickness. Long distance vision collapses. A city skyline? Invisible. Mountains? Gone. The stars? Forget it. You wouldn't see past your own street. The human world becomes claustrophobic, not because space shrinks, but because light can't travel cleanly through an atmosphere that now behaves like a dense optical barrier. Even more shocking, you'd see air pressure and temperature. Warm air moves faster, so hot regions look like vibrating, glowing zones of turbulence. Cold air looks like thick, slow moving fog. Weather becomes a constant visual spectacle. You could watch convection currents above a flame, see your breath twist into turbulent spirals, and observe storms forming like giant moving masses of dense particulate matter. The Richter scale, which has technically been replaced by the moment magnitude scale, measures the strength of an earthquake. Since we usually hear about earthquakes with ratings somewhere between 3 and 9, a lot of people probably think of 10 as the top of the scale and 0 as the bottom. In fact, there is no top or bottom to the scale. But even if 10 isn't the top of the scale, it might as well be. Each inhale reveals a tunnel of molecules streaming into your lungs, while every exhale becomes a visible plume of CO2 and water vapor. Crowded places become visually overwhelming, every room filled with clouds of exhaled air, body heat, sweat droplets, and moisture. In short, the world becomes visually flooded, and our sense of vision, a primary survival tool, becomes nearly useless. The second major consequence.
Environmental chaos.
If air becomes visible, Earth's environment transforms from transparent and balanced to visually dense and optically unstable. The atmosphere would behave like a massive, twisting, constantly shifting substance, because that's exactly what it is. Only now, you can see every movement, every ripple, every chaotic swirl. The first major environmental effect: sunlight becomes heavily scattered. Right now, sunlight travels freely through the air, only scattering a bit to create the blue sky. But if every molecule becomes visible, that scattering increases dramatically. The world would suddenly feel dim, as if covered by a permanent haze. Shadows become fuzzy or disappear completely. Direct sunlight looks like a bright, pulsing blur because the atmosphere diffuses it in all directions. Daylight would resemble a never ending early morning fog. Even noon might feel like sunset. Plants struggle next. Photosynthesis depends on clean, direct sunlight. With light now scattered by trillions of visible particles, plants receive far less energy. Crops grow slower, forests weaken, entire ecosystems begin to collapse silently as sunlight becomes harder to access. Weather also becomes visually overwhelming. Storms turn into giant dark masses of densely clustered air molecules. You can see cold fronts sweeping in like thick walls. Hurricanes appear as colossal spinning structures of condensed atmospheric mass, stretching across the horizon like living beings. But the visibility isn't the real danger. The real threat is the heat. Visible molecules trap more light, and that makes the lower atmosphere warm up dramatically. Earth becomes slightly hotter, more humid, and more turbulent. Heat waves intensify, wind patterns shift. The climate becomes unstable as the atmosphere absorbs and scatters energy differently.
The chain reaction continues. Dimmer sunlight, weaker plant growth, less oxygen production, harsher. Climate conditions reduced global stability.
Earth's environment becomes not just harder to see through, but harder to live in. Long term results: a planet forever changed. As years pass in a world where air is visible, humanity discovers that this isn't just a visual inconvenience. It's a complete reshaping of life on Earth. The long term consequences unfold slowly, but relentlessly. First comes the psychological impact. Humans evolved with a clear view of their surroundings, but now people live inside a constant blizzard of moving particles. This creates chronic sensory overload. Anxiety rises. Claustrophobia becomes extremely common. Cities feel like enclosed, shimmering caves with walls made of vibrating matter. Even simple tasks like walking through a crowd become stressful because you can see the swirling clouds of other people's breath and body heat mixing with the environment. Next comes the ecological transformation. With sunlight weakened by extreme scattering, many plant species fail to survive. Forests thin out. Grasslands fade. Agricultural productivity drops dramatically. Humanity switches to artificial lighting and indoor farming to compensate for nature's collapse. Photobiology labs become essential to sustaining food supplies. Animals struggle too. Predators can no longer see prey clearly. Birds can't navigate through the dense visual fog of the sky. Insects that rely on visual cues like bees experience mass disorientation. Entire ecosystems collapse or evolve new behaviors to adapt. Over decades, the atmosphere warms slightly but steadily. Visible molecules reflect more solar radiation downward, acting like a weak blanket over the planet. This accelerates global warming. Ice caps recede faster, oceans rise, coastal cities face chronic flooding. Weather becomes chaotic, with stronger storms driven by increased heat energy trapped near the surface. At this point, humanity faces a critical choice: and adapt technologically or fall into environmental decline. Cities build high powered directional lights to punch through the visual fog artificially. Navigation systems become radar based. Goggles that filter atmospheric noise become as common as smartphones. Advanced AI helps humans interpret obscured visuals. Life becomes a merger of biology and technology because the natural human eye can no longer handle the world as it is. The visible atmosphere doesn't kill our planet instantly, but it reshapes it into something unrecognizable, where survival depends on innovation and adaptation. In this thought experiment world, one simple change air becoming visible unravels the foundation of human perception, biology, and the planet's stability. What once felt like empty space turns out to be a dense, swirling ocean of matter. And when the curtain is lifted, we learn that our eyes were never designed to handle the truth of what surrounds us every second. We saw how visibility destroys our ability to see distance. Buildings, mountains, and even the sky vanish behind a shimmering haze of moving molecules. Daily life becomes visually overwhelming, and the calm clarity of the world we take for granted disappears forever. We watch the atmosphere itself become a new force, scattering light, dimming the sun, trapping heat, and turning weather into colossal moving structures of visible mass. This new optical density shifts the climate, disrupts ecosystems, and weakens plant life as sunlight becomes harder to access. We learned that animals lose their natural cues, ecosystems collapse under visual chaos, and humans must reinvent nearly every aspect of life from farming to transportation to basic vision. To survive, humanity blends technology and adaptation, building tools to see through the world that nature never intended us to see. In the end, this scenario reminds us of a profound truth. Sometimes the things we can't see are the very things that allow life to exist in the first place. The invisibility of air isn't an accident. It's a perfectly tuned miracle that lets our world function. What would life be like if the atmosphere itself became impossible to ignore? Maybe the real question is, how much of our world do we rely on without even noticing it?